Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show. This is Zai, the money guy. I'm filming in front of a live studio audience tonight. It is Sunday, December 20th, 2020. This is live with Zai, the money guy. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Okay. It's not a real live audience, but you get the idea. So welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with Zai. So this is a early edition. And the reason that it is an early edition is because tonight is fantasy draft night. That's right. I have a big night ahead of me. I am drafting for my NBA fantasy team. So usually I do this show at 7 p.m. on Sundays, but tonight we are going to do it just a little bit earlier so I can get ready for my draft. Now, again, this episode is brought to you by Jones Soda. Jones Soda is one of the premier sodas, and I tried this flavor for the first time. It is berry lemonade soda, and it is delicious. I still think their cream soda is by far their best, but berry lemonade soda by Jones Soda, check them out. This episode is brought to you by Jones. Not for real, but maybe one day. We'll pretend it is, okay? So let me tell you a little bit about the format of my show. So I do go live on Sunday nights and I talk about money. So if you're curious about money and you're interested about making money, something that is not only easy to grasp, but available to everyone, as it should be, right? I find that finance as a whole and education content around finance is complicated, it's advanced, and it feels that people who talk about finance or talk about money are maybe in a different league or a different category altogether. And it shouldn't be that way because my motto is you don't have to be an expert in your finances to be um, you don't have to be, pardon me, my motto is you don't have to be a financial expert to be an expert in your finances. Okay, so that's my motto. I'm sticking to that. That's what I try to teach. And really, I want to make, this idea of money simple for everyone and easy to grasp because I know that a lot of people struggle with it. And when I talk about money, I'm talking about savings. I'm talking about building just a basic emergency fund. And those things in a nutshell can be overwhelming. And I think a lot of people they don't know where to start. So that's the type of channel that I want to build. And that's what I want to teach. Now, I'm going to entertain you for the next 30 minutes or so. And we're going to go to my first segment of my show. And it is called In the News. So let's take a look at what is in the news. Now, if you are joining, this is Zai, the money guy. Thank you for joining. I do appreciate your time. I know it's Sunday night and I'm doing an early episode because I have to draft for my fantasy basketball team. So I'll get to that later. But right now we are looking at the news. We're talking about money. And the first article that I'm going to talk about has to do with TikTok. Now, TikTok is banning MLMs and other content that aims to deceive people for financial gain. Now, I follow BuzzFeed News on Facebook. I think everyone does. I think it's just pushed to your Facebook. And I saw this article, and immediately I was actually quite impressed that TikTok made this decision. Now, they did send out a notification to everyone about an update to their terms of use. And, like most terms of use, I gloss over it, to be honest. And I didn't read it, but I saw this article from BuzzFeed, and in the article, they are clamping down on people who sell MLMs or other schemes, other financial programs that can deceive users. And I'll give you a few examples, right? So an MLM means multi-level marketing. And I'm sure maybe you're familiar with them, maybe you're not, but I'm not going to pick on any particular company, okay? I'm not going to do that. But usually the essence of a multi-level marketing company is there's a product for sale and they don't sell you the product directly, but instead what they try to do is they try to recruit people to sell that product. And generally that turns into some form of pyramid, and that's why it's called multi-level. Now, I'm not an expert in multi-level marketing, and I don't know enough about how they work, but there have been many cases where, I've heard stories where people have been left with loads and loads of product in their basement, and they weren't able to sell that product, right? So I think for some people, you get sort of lured into the excitement that these MLM programs sell. I know that at the very top of these programs, they entice people with incentives, right? Like join our program, and if you reach a certain level, then you'll eventually own a new Mercedes, hypothetically speaking. Or, you know, join our program, and by year 2 or year 3, you'll have a 6-figure income. And maybe in some cases that does happen, but usually what happens is the higher you go in the, I don't want to call it a pyramid, but let's say that we're talking about a pyramid scheme, okay? So the higher you go in the pyramid, the more money you make, and the lower you are, the harder you have to work, and the more stock you have to hold, and you have to sell that, right? So they have a lot of salespeople, and for some people, they like these programs, but for others, they feel that it preys on vulnerable people. So TikTok has made the decision that they want to clamp down on the MLMs. I think that's good. And the reason I say that is because I'm running a finance account, right? And it talks about money, and I have to be careful in the types of advice that I give, but the advice that I want to give is much more straightforward. It has nothing to do with earning thousands of dollars in a month, right? So that's another example. So, and I see this on TikTok. I see people make videos where they are promising people, you know, they're promising people hundreds of thousands, the possibility of earning hundreds of thousands of dollars in a month, or even $1,000 in a few days. And these, so-called experts make those types of promises. And if we're being honest, it's likely that that type of money is next to impossible to make, especially in the short term. So I think anyone who is an actual expert knows that you can't make $100,000 in a month or in a few days. It's highly unlikely. And encouraging people to do that, let's say even in the stock market, is extremely dangerous. I made a video about this. I made a video about how I see a ton of stock videos on TikTok where people are talking about their gains, right? Invest in this stock and I made this much money. I made $20,000. But you never hear about their long-term returns. Why is that, right? So you might make $20,000 in a month, but over 20 years, you might lose 10%. Then you're down. So TikTok is clamping down on MLMs and Ponzi schemes. So if you don't know what a Ponzi scheme is, there's a famous example. So there's a gentleman named Bernie Madoff. He's now in prison. And essentially what he did was he ran a Ponzi scheme. And what that means is he will take money from, let's say, 2 people, right? So he'll take money from, let's say, Chris. He'll take $1,000 from Chris. And he'll take $1,000 from Sarah. And he would tell Chris and Sarah that he's going to invest that money, but instead of investing that money, he will take some of Chris's money and simply give it to Sarah, and without telling Chris. And he would tell Sarah that in a way she made a high return. So maybe it's like 10%, maybe it's like 12%. So Sarah's happy. She's like, wow, my money is growing. I gave it to this guy, Bernie, and he made my money grow. And his returns were quite impressive. Now, Chris might one day come and ask Bernie how his money is doing, and then Bernie will go and get someone else, let's say Jim or John, and he'll get $1,000 from them, and then he'll take that money and give it to Chris. There's always one person who is short on the money, but eventually this scheme, and they call them a Ponzi scheme. I think the Ponzi scheme is actually named after one of the original person who sort of started with this method. But Bernie Madoff, he did this continuously, and he actually developed a very powerful name in the finance community. He was untouchable. People looked at him as this finance god, not even a guru, but a finance god. And I think there's a movie about him. It's on Netflix, and nobody questioned him. But what he was running was a Ponzi scheme. So, I don't know the exact details, but his clients, some of them were major celebrity clients, like Steven Spielberg had money in his fund. His clients were getting these huge returns, but it was fake money. It was fake returns. It was just taking money from one person to the next. So, uh, so to get back to the article, so TikTok is clamping down on those types of accounts, so MLMs or Ponzi schemes, and I think that is a really good idea. I think that will protect users on TikTok, especially vulnerable users, people who are new to finance. It's an overwhelming topic, and that's why I created my account. I want to make it as simple as possible for people to understand. Full transparency, I sell a course, but it's a Udemy course. It's like less than $60. It's in my profile. I tell people about it, but I will never pressure anyone to take my course. No pressure. So they're trying to clamp down on that, and I think good on TikTok. I think it's the smart thing to do, and we'll see who that affects. Because I know there are a lot of accounts on here that do sell courses, and there's different types of courses. There are the ones that I believe are worthwhile, that are educational and come from a good place. And then, excuse me, and then there are the scammy ones, right? The multi-level marketing ones. God forbid there's a Ponzi scheme program on here. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't. But um, you want to look out for those red flags, and I think the red flags are anybody who promises you a high return, right? I would never in my course. I actually tell people that it could take you 1 to 5 years to complete my course because I'm teaching people how to build an emergency fund. I'm not teaching people how to make $1 million in a year or even six figures. My course isn't about that. It's about actually turning your life around, going from not living paycheck to paycheck to building an emergency fund and getting good with your money, building a budget, the core fundamentals that I feel aren't taught anywhere. My TikTok account was inspired by Gary Vee, who said nobody teaches saving. So that's what I'm trying to do. If you have joined, I do want to say thank you for joining. I hope you're having a wonderful night wherever you are. It is Sunday, December 20th. I do run a money show on Sunday nights. This is episode 4, so if you're joining, welcome to the show. I'll try to entertain you the best I can. So this part of my show is called In the News, and I'm going to go to the second article now. So that first article was about TikTok and them banning the MLMs and the Ponzi schemes. So good on TikTok. I hope they get rid of, the really scammy accounts. TikTok does have a moderation team, so they have real people who review the videos, review the accounts, and try to find, like the scammy advice. And I think that will be good for the community. It's a lot of young people on here, right? So we need to protect them, especially when it comes with money. And I see over and over again, I see these young kids who will watch these stock videos and they'll take $1,000 and they'll put the money into the market, and you could lose that money. That's not good. I even created my own video on TikTok telling people not to do that, and someone left a comment. They said that they learned the hard way about putting money into the market and then losing it in the first half of this year. That is not how you should invest. That is how no one should invest their money. And anyone who is good with money and actual investors and people who are actual millionaires would never go to a first-time investor or someone who's 17 or who's 18 years old and would never tell them to put $1,000 into an individual stock and just pick a stock. That's not how anyone invests. There's so much more There's so much more education that you need to learn before you make a pick like that. But okay, so that's the article. Let's go to the next article. So we are in the news section. I am filming in front of a live audience. So just give me 1 second. If you are joining, I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. Thank you for joining. This is I, the Money Guy. And, oh, I'm just trying to play a video here. Sorry. And I do this show every Sunday night where I talk about money, making money accessible to everybody. Here we go. So as you could tell, I am in front of a live audience. All right. Thank you. I have that on cue. So this part of the show is called In the News. And the next article that I'm going to talk about, it comes from CNBC. And the headline is, Why NFL Star Richard Sherman Drove His $30,000 Dodge Challenger Until 2018. Now this article is awesome. This one caught my eye. So Richard Sherman, he's an NFL football player, famous. And when he signed his contract, I think early in his football career, the first car that he bought was a $30,000 Dodge Challenger. It's a beautiful car. It's by no means a junker. But relatively speaking, when we look at the types of numbers a professional athlete makes, you wouldn't expect them to buy a $30,000 car, right? And hello, Hockey Beast. Thank you for joining. This is episode 4. I had to start a little bit early tonight because I have a fantasy draft that I need to get to. And Hockey Beast, I know that you know how important fantasy sports drafts are. So I had to do this show early. Thank you for joining. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday night. As you're aware, I run a show every Sunday night where I talk about money and keeping money ideas simple. So right now we're in the news and we're talking about NFL player Richard Sherman, who, when he joined the NFL, the first car that he bought was a $30,000 Dodge Challenger, and he drove that until 2018. And the reason that this article caught my eye is because, I mean, I'm not trying to pick on athletes, but usually many of them, they find themselves with a huge contract and they go from having no money to millions almost overnight. I think most people would dream about that, but it's something that's very important to consider, right? So what do you do when you have all that money? And the sad news is, and I think there are many examples of athletes who have gone almost bankrupt. I know Mike Tyson at one point was a millionaire and he almost went bankrupt. He may have actually a few times. And I think the other person was maybe Kemba Walker. But there are plenty of NBA athletes and they get these huge contracts and then they don't know how to manage that money. And you know what? I'm not here to blame them because financial literacy and financial education, it comes to people at different times and at different levels. Some people have access to it, some people don't, right? So I can't judge anybody because, if someone threw $50 million at me, what would I do it? I might have some idea, but maybe I don't have the exact idea. So this article, Richard Sherman, he plays for the San Francisco 49ers. He bought a $30,000 Dodge Challenger, and it's a nice car, but it's considered actually quite frugal. And I was really impressed by that. So he took the smart path because he understood that he needed to be good with money. So he understood that he needed to save and budget his money instead of spending it. And that's exactly what he did. So I was quite impressed by Richard Sherman. I actually love him as a football player too. I think he has a great personality. His contract that he started out with was $56.8 million. Richard Sherman signed a contract, $56 million. And the first car he bought was a $30,000 Dodge Charger. So that is a good use of money. And I made another video about this where I said, I think the message that I was trying to get across was you don't have to be a millionaire to be good with money, right? And I think a lot of people don't quite understand that. They think that, you know what, I should only take advice from a millionaire or I should only learn from millionaires. But if you look around, there are a lot of very ordinary people, and I don't mean ordinary in any type of degrading form, but just a lot of regular people who are good with their money and who are able to save their money and budget it. And that I think is more important. And it is impressive, right? So good on Richard Sherman. He signed a $56 million contract and he didn't spend his money. At the beginning, he didn't spend the money. So eventually, he ended up buying a Tesla and a Maybach, which are very expensive cars, but he did that after he established his fundamentals. And that's the most important thing. He says, growing up in Compton, California, a dollar earned was always a dollar spent, right? So what he's telling you there is like the environment that he grew up in, it's, Compton, California, it's known to be a more difficult, at least back in the day it was. It's a difficult neighborhood because of a myriad of reasons, right? And people maybe don't have the luxury of saving their money. So he, in his quote, a dollar earned was always a dollar spent. So any money that he got, he would spend. And maybe that's how he grew up. So when you look at a professional athlete and they get millions of dollars, that's all they know. And I know there's another story. So Shaquille O'Neal, he plays for the NBA. He was talking about money as well. And I think I saw this on TikTok. And he, oh, glad to have you back, Hockey Beast. No worries. Hope your connection is all right. Just talking about Richard Sherman and how I'm impressed by him. And I was also talking about Shaquille O'Neal. So Shaquille O'Neal, when he signed his first contract, I think it was something like $8 million, or maybe it was a few $1 million. And he went, it may have even been $1 million. He went and he bought a Mercedes and he drove his Mercedes home and he brought it to his dad. And his dad looked at him and said, "Where's my Mercedes?" They went back to the dealership and they bought a second car. He brought those cars back home. His mom said, "I want one." They went back. And then by the time that they came home, I think in the span of a few days, they had three Mercedes. And Shaquille O'Neal's bank gave him a call. And the bank manager there told him, he said something like, "I've seen other athletes spend their money, and I know that you're a smart individual. I don't want you to go down the same path, so I want to give you some financial advice." And Shaquille O'Neal is a very smart individual. He took that advice and he stopped spending and he started to invest his money and he just changed his mindset. So Shaquille O'Neal, he gets it. Richard Sherman definitely gets it. It's not about how much money you have. It's about how you handle that money, how you budget it, how you save it. So that is the in the news section of the program. We are going to have a shorter program tonight because I do have to get to my fantasy draft. I do appreciate how are you guys doing on your end? Let me know in the comments. How's your Sunday night? Are you keeping busy? Are you keeping sane? I'm on vacation and just trying to stay as busy as possible. So thanks very much for joining. I really do appreciate it. Again, Live with Zai is filmed in front of a live studio audience. And it is brought to you by Jones Soda. Jones Soda, berry lemonade soda. Glad you're having a good night. Hockey Beast, I know hockey is in the talks of coming back, so congratulations to you. I think they just signed. Thank you for enjoying my content. Real praise, George. Thank you so much. I'm going to write your name down, Real Praise, George. You're going to get a shout out. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Zai, the Money Guy, and I am trying to educate people on making money as simple as possible. I go live every Sunday night. Hockey Beast, you know I am cheering for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm from Ontario. I grew up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and we cheer for the Leafs there for the most part. I know some people cheer for the Abs. I know I haven't forgot, that's your team. I know you got Carey Price, so good on you guys. So that was in the news part of the program. Let me do some shout outs now. So my first shout out goes, oh, sorry, for football. Oh, what is my team? Real Praise is in the UK. Wow, that is amazing. Hope you guys are doing well in the UK. George, let me just check if your name is George. Is your name George? Praise George. The United Kingdom. I know the United Kingdom, there's another strain of the virus going around. It's scaring everybody. I hope you're doing safe. George, if that's your name, I hope you're doing safe. Hockey Beast, my team for football. I don't know. It could be. I I'm a big football fan, but I'm not an avid football fan. So I tend to jump on bandwagons. I've always been on the Tom Brady bandwagon. So I'm watching the Buccaneers. The Buffalo Bills are doing amazing this year. So I'll be watching Allen, right? I'll be watching him in Buffalo. And Kansas City, I'm watching Mahoney's. And yeah, it's a great season. George, I hope you're doing okay in the UK. I know it's a little bit crazy over there right now. It's crazy everywhere, but I hope you guys are staying safe. This is going to be a short episode of the show. So let me give you my shout outs. So I do have Hockey Beast 140. Shout out to you for being a continuous guest on my show. So if you're not following Hockey Beast 140, then I suggest you do. So that account is at Hockey Beast 140. And here is the other shout out. So Real Praise George. Real Praise George is following us tonight. So make sure you follow at Real Praise George. Real Praise George is out of the UK. Shout out to Real Praise George. My next shout out goes to Jim Chung. So if you're looking for an expert investor or an actual millionaire, and I'm not making this up, he's an actual millionaire out of Canada. His name is Jim Chung, JimChuoung, at Jim Chung. Follow that account. At the HR Vault, that is my next shout out. At the HR Vault. I believe that is an American HR account. He gives a lot of great career advice. Some of it is controversial. He's always in an argument with someone about HR topics, but there's some good stuff there, and he can, help you with your career or your career progress. So that's HR Vault, the HR Vault. So THEHRVAULT at the HR Vault. And I'll give my last shout out to at Pepperjack James. So at Pepperjack James is another account that you should follow. He is a thrifter out in Vancouver, and what he does is he goes and he flips items, right? He'll go and find vintage clothing, or he'll find whatever exercise equipment, and then he sells it on Kijiji or Craigslist, and he makes money. So that's a great account. If you're just joining, thank you for joining. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday night. My name is Zai, the Money Guy. We're on Sunday nights at usually 7 p.m. Tonight, I'm doing my show a bit early because I'm doing a fantasy draft in about an hour. Please wish me luck there. But I do a money show every Sunday where I talk about money. I'm going to upload my videos to YouTube so you guys can see the replays. Today we talked about what was in the news. So TikTok is banning multi-level marketing programs and Ponzi schemes from the platform. And as I mentioned before, I think that is a good idea. And we also talked about Richard Sherman, the San Francisco 49er, who was frugal with his money when he started his career. He signed a $56 million contract and he bought a $30,000 car. To me, that's awesome. And I drive a junker too. I drive a 2001 Honda Accord, and there's no judgment. If you save your money and you want a nice car, then by all means buy a nice car as long as you've saved your money for it, right? And you're not living in debt. So in the next part of, and if you're not aware, my program is filmed in front of a live studio audience, as you can hear. Thank you. And the program is brought to you by Jones Soda. Jones Soda makes the finest sodas. The flavor I had tonight is berry lemonade soda. And I've rediscovered my love for Jones Soda, so these guys are awesome. They taste delicious. They're made with cane sugar, right? So probably not good for the waistline right now, but I've had, I think, one of each of their flavors over the last week. So it's been pretty awesome. Check them out. Program's really not brought to you by Jones Soda, but I'm hoping one day I'll have a promo that I can actually show you guys. The next part of the show is called Teachable Moment. So this teachable moment comes from someone who left a comment on one of my videos, and I thought the comment was brilliant actually. So I was talking about the risks of buying a stock that can go potentially to zero. So I was being a little bit clever. I made a video about the Nortel stock, and I told people that if you invested $10,000 in Nortel in the year 2000, then by today, that stock would be worth $0 because Nortel at that time was a $30 billion company that over the span of only a few years went bankrupt and they went to zero. They laid off tons of employees in Canada. It was a sad time for a lot of Canadians, and people who had stocks in Nortel lost a lot of money. And the reason I made that video is because nobody on TikTok is talking about stock losses or losing money in the market. It's silly. Silly not talking about that because if you're only showing gains, then you're misleading people, in my opinion. And hindsight is a beautiful thing. Anybody can show you their gains, right? You could tell somebody, oh, I put $10,000 in Tesla on this day and I made $20,000. It's like big deal. It's like, how much did you lose over the span of a year? How much did you really make? What is your actual return? And we got the HR Vault. The HR Vault has joined. HR Vault, you missed. Thank you for the gift. I think that's my first gift. That is amazing. Thank you so much. I don't even know what that means, but that is, wow, that is, I think that's a milestone. That's my first milestone. You just missed my shout out to you in the previous part of my course. I gave you a shout out and I told my followers and anyone who's listening to follow the HR Vault for the best career tips and career advice and how to handle dealing with HR people. I'm just kidding. But I mentioned that I do like your content because it's you give the straight goods. Sometimes it's controversial. Sometimes people don't like it, and then sometimes people do like it. And I think that's how it should be. I can tell it comes from your heart, and I think that's why I follow you, and I think other people should too. You should always hear different points of view, and something like HR, it shouldn't be sugar-coated, right? And people have these, I've noticed in my career, people have these sort of perceptions and almost misconceptions of about what HR is and what their role is, right? So, they play a role, as do any of us in any company. So, for the most part, they're looking out for employees and they're looking out for you. So, you should at least learn the strategies that HR Vault shares, and he has the inside information, right? So, follow the HR Vault. That's THEHRVAULT. That is one of my shout outs. So, thank you so much for joining. HR Vault, it is a short version of Live with Zai, the Money Guy tonight, because I do have to go shortly tonight. I do have a fantasy draft that is very much important. It's once in a year. No, thank you for following and thank you for that milestone. That's super exciting. But as I was mentioning, the teachable moment part of my program comes from someone who left a comment. So I was talking about Nortel, and the Nortel stock went to zero, and a lot of people lost money. And I wasn't trying to harp on Nortel. I was just proving a point that the stock market can be a risky place. So I've said this over and over again on my account. I would not give the advice to a brand new investor, a brand new student of money and getting better with money. I would never tell them to go and buy an individual stock on day one. There's a list of probably 100 things that you should do before that, and that includes education, that includes following accounts like my account and the good accounts on TikTok, right? And know, if you're a really good investor and if you're an actual millionaire, you probably wouldn't give that advice as well. Like you don't hear Warren Buffett say, "Oh, you should buy, you know, this stock at this price and then wait a year and you'll be rich." He would never give that advice. So if he isn't giving that advice, I found that a lot of people on TikTok were. I think it's dangerous. I think that there are probably maybe some vulnerable kids on TikTok, and also they're sort of enticed and they're excited about the thrill of making money on the market. And you can as a day trader, you can make money day trading individual stocks. And I'm not saying that's not a possibility, but those people are experts and they spend a lot of time understanding that. So I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I'm saying you have to put in the work to learn how to do it first before buying any stock, right? So I keep digressing, but the teachable moment, it came from another user called FMV3. His name is Frank at FMV3. And he left this comment on my video. He said, one stock is risky. So purchasing one stock is risky. Three stocks is less risky, right? So you're diversifying your risk by buying three stocks. 500 is pretty safe. And to me, that blew my mind. If I'm being honest, I thought it was a great comment. And what he's trying to convey is the idea of investing in something like, an index that tracks the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 is essentially a bucket of companies, right? 500 of the top tier companies in the United States in particular. That's why they call it the S&P 500. So think of, I'm sorry, I don't know who's part of the S&P 500 off the top of my head, but think of the top players, all right? So the top players, they have to meet a certain criteria to be part of the list. And believe it or not, Tesla, I think, just became a part of the S&P 500 because they weren't showing a profit over 3 quarters, right? So you have to meet a certain criteria before they put you in. And essentially what you can do is you can invest in an index fund that tracks 500 of these companies, right? So if some of them do well and then some of them do poorly, the aggregate difference is where you will come out on top, right? So instead of investing in one stock, you're investing essentially, you have a little bit in 500 stocks or 500 companies. That's the general idea of, I think, what that person was trying to say, what Frank was saying at FMV3. And I tend to agree with Frank, right? The point is you want to diversify your risk. I'm a passive investor myself. Okay, so I'm a passive investor. I don't spend any time looking at ticker symbols or following companies. There's this other author, his name is Jim Collins, and he talks about just investing in index funds. And he says the same thing. It's like if you're following the S&P 500 or you're investing in an index that tracks the S&P 500, you're essentially investing in those 500 companies. So imagine everyone in America working for you. They're going to work, right? They have to be productive. They have to turn a profit. They have to report to their managers, and that's what HR Vault takes care of. He makes sure that you get to work and then you produce and you get rewarded for that, right? This whole system. So everyone in America is going to work for you as long as you are invested in something like the S&P 500. To me, that's genius. It's like as long as America is productive, then you will do well, right? Warren Buffett thinks that way as well. So that is my teachable moment of the night. That comment is on one of my videos if you do want to check it out. I hope that provides some insight to you guys. Before I wrap up the show, I'll just talk really quickly about my course. And again, I'm not here to push my course. It's in my profile link. If you want to take a look, take a look. but it's called How to Budget Through Better Habits. My course content and my content on TikTok, it's around same things. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the 5 different principles that I believe in, right? So, and this is what I teach in my course, you know, how to live a more frugal lifestyle. And what that means is living either within or below your means, living without credit card debt, and the ability to track your transactions, building an emergency fund, and being a power user of a tool called You Need a Budget. That's how I live my life. I learned those skills over the last few years, and I wanted to share with an audience, and that's what I'm doing, right? So my emergency fund, it took me forever to build, but I eventually found that software tool called You Need a Budget, which is amazing. It has a very long learning curve, so I'll try to teach people about YNAB the best I can through this account. But because of that, because they changed how I think, I was able to set aside additional money and build my emergency fund so that it's over 12 months. I have an emergency fund of over 12 months, and I don't say that to brag. I needed that because I went through a period of unemployment once, and I almost didn't make it through that period. I almost ran out of money, and that scared the crap out of me. Luckily, things turned out, and since that time, I built my emergency fund. So something like COVID came around, and to be honest, I wasn't stressed about it. And knock on wood, I still have my job, and I was super fortunate to still have my job. But the emergency fund is there, and once you build it once. And also, I track all my transactions. So when I buy stuff, I'm tracking it. I try to live as frugally as possible, and HR Vault, I know, like these fan guys, they drive me crazy. It's like there's this other fan guy who lives out of his car, right? And he opens his videos. He's like, "Hi, I'm a software engineer. I make, $100,000 per year, and I live out of my car." I'm like, "Why are you living out of your car, dude? Like, go rent an apartment, right? Just be a normal person." I get, I think I understand what that person is trying to do. Is they're trying to save as much money as they can now so that they can quit work. They're the only job that does that. Yeah, exactly. Engineers. Engineers are the only people who seem to do that. Here's what I don't get is if you dislike work so much, why not try to find a better job or just try to enjoy work a little bit more? It's like the easier route. You can still live a good life. My role, I'm a consultant. I get to travel. Before COVID, I was traveling all over the world. That was my gig. It's a dream gig. And at the same time, I live a frugal lifestyle. Find a job you enjoy. Exactly. That's it. If anything, if you want to adopt some of the stuff that Fang teaches is maybe it can help you retire earlier because you're saving more money. But this idea of saving 80% of your income, it's not for me. Maybe it's for other people. This guy, he's famous. He made a video. It's like, I make $100,000 per year. I live out of my car. He's a software engineer and a photographer. I'm like, that's weird. It's just weird. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that's judgment, but why are you living out of your car? And he says that he's homeless. I'm like, you're not really homeless. Technically, you're homeless because you don't own a home, but you're making a 6-figure income. You could at least go live in a basement apartment if you want to save on rent, right? Or buy like a duplex or something. And anyways, people are strange on TikTok, but that's another story. Hope you guys are having a wonderful night. It is Sunday. I'm going to have to wrap up super shortly. Thank you for joining. You guys are amazing. You guys are part of my core audience, and I assure you I will grow my audience, and I will not forget Hockey Beast, HR Vault, anyone else who joins. I will not forget, and I will shout you out continuously. I'm learning this as I go. I think I might put some of my videos on YouTube. I don't know if that's something that people do. If you guys have any questions about money, let me know. If there are any topics that you want to talk about on another Sunday Night Live, let me know. Check out my videos. Thank you for your support, Hockey Beast. You are the best. You're wrong. I'm not the best. You are the best. Although you like the Habs, I like the Leafs. You know that. HR Veld is also the best. Keep up the great videos, man. You're making an impact. You truly are. Keep them honest, keep them authentic, and we'll grow together. And I'll leave it at that. So that's all for me. Sunday Night Live. Thank you so much. I'll be live again next Sunday. Put in your calendars. I hope to see you guys out. Have a wonderful night. Wish me luck on my fantasy draft. And thanks so much. If you're sending me actual money, don't do that, okay? But that is amazing. Take care. Have a wonderful night. Good night. Bye-bye. Thank you, Hockey Beast. Good luck to you too, okay?